Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. And, you know, many of us do visit prisons. And one of the things that repeatedly comes up is the number of repeat offenders and how difficult soft-on-crime policies have made it on our local law enforcement agencies in the judicial system, and also the effect of fentanyl on communities. When you look at those that are incarcerated, the number that are there because of drugs and mental health issues, those are issues we should be doing a deeper dive on. And Senator Graham mentioned how he was surprised we were taking our time today to talk about solitary confinement when we should be talking about H.R. 2, a border security bill. Number one issue with the American people right now is what is happening with that open border. Every town's a border town. Every state is a border state because of the effects of the Biden open border policy. It is all intentional. It is what they wanted. And it's what our colleagues across the aisle continue to support. Fentanyl racing into this country. We should be looking at that, Mr. Chairman. None of us want that in our communities. Look at the number of children that are being exploited by cartels that are trafficking children, and they're being trafficked into labor gangs. They're being sexually exploited. These are things that are happening, and I wish that we were putting our time into that. Now, back when I was in the House in 2007, I introduced a bill, the CLEAR Act, and it would take some of those provisions from the 287G program and give authority to local law enforcement. When they apprehend somebody that is in the country illegally, they can hold them. And then ICE has to come and ICE has to deport them and then reimburse that local law enforcement agency for what they have spent. So, Sheriff, I want to come to you, and thank you to each of you for being here today. I appreciate it. I would like to get your thoughts on legislation like the CLEAR Act that would empower local law enforcement and then have ICE deport these criminal illegal aliens and reimburse local law enforcement for what they have spent, and deny federal law enforcement funds to jurisdictions that will not comply with federal immigration law.
Senator, what you're talking about is not something new or revolutionary. We had that at one time. If I remember right, it was somewhere around
287G.
Well, even before then, even before 287G, in the 1980s and 1990s, we had officers at the Victoria Police Department who were dual commissioned as U.S. Customs agents and local police officers. And they had the authorities that you're talking about. And so the restitution of those authorities is something that can be looked at by federal authorities. And so I think that we all have to work together and do our part, because this open border that we're facing right now and the surge of transnational criminal activity is overwhelming us. I heard one of the senators early say that most of the fentanyl is being brought in by United States citizens, and that is not correct. If you lived down on the border like I am, then what you'll find is that is being brought here by transnational criminal organizations. Some of the people that work for cartels do live in the United States, but that product is being shipped here by cartel members from Mexico into the United States. They no longer are dependent on China for the precursors to make fentanyl. They have now figured out how to make it themselves. Those individuals in Mexico are some of the smartest people you'll ever meet, and they will figure out exactly what to do in order to generate a profit. And I think that we need to look at the ability to deny transnational criminal activity and organizations any ability to make profit within the United States, because I don't know if any of you have ever sat down with a Sicario before. I have on multiple occasions. When you talk about solitary confinement, as it's being called here, we call it separation in the state of Texas. Those people have to remain in separation or they will kill somebody. It's not like the movie. They're not professionals. They're sloppy and they're mean. And we have to deal with them in a manner that protects not only our correction officers, but also the fellow inmates that are in the facility, because it doesn't matter if you're a jailer or an inmate, you're made in the image of God, and I have to protect you no matter what.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. And Senator, in previous stage of the hearing, we had a similar request that we deal with legislation that addresses border issues. And I, for one, would like to remember that it was Senator Langford's effort that resulted in a bipartisan bill, which many of us actively supported.
Mr. Chairman, as we know, that was not a border security bill. It was an immigration bill, and H.R. 2, which is a border security bill, landed in this committee last May. Last May, the first part of May.
Let me just say, Senator.
We should have a hearing on that, whether we like it or not.
Senator.
Let's take it up and let's debate it and look at what has transpired at this border. I talk to parents every single week who have had a child impacted by fentanyl, and people that are seeing some of these labor gangs. I am terribly concerned about these 85,000 children that HHS and DHS can't find.
Well, we can go into all of these issues, and we have in the past, but I will tell you that the bipartisan effort by Senator Langford, the chosen representative of the Senate Republicans, along with Senator Murphy and Senator Sinema, was the first bipartisan effort that moved us towards 60 votes, which is essential for passage in the Senate.
And it couldn't get
It
where
got
it needed to go.
four Republicans after they told us
It was
point
not
blank.
a border security bill.
Well, I tell you, you're wrong.
And I want, well,
You're wrong,
no, sir,
Senator.
I am not wrong
And
on
HR
that. It
2
was an
received no
immigration
Democratic
bill.
votes. I don't want to go down these rabbit holes of
The American
partisan-
people are expecting us to do it. That's why they want a trial
Well,
on Mayorkas. And I think it is so wrong that
You're
Chuck
giving me-
Schumer
you're
is
gi-
trying to table
I can't
this.
keep up with all the issues you're throwing at me, Senator. We came today to talk about solitary confinement in federal prisons, and I hope we can get back to that subject. At this point, Senator Kennedy is recognized.